Hey folks, Dr. Joe here. Hope everybody's having a wonderful day. Of course, I'm having a wonderful day. And last week we did a show on neurotransmitters, and we got a really interesting response from it because we're talking about how the brain works. And the brain works on chemicals, or actually the nervous system works on chemicals called neurotransmitters. And so the brain is sending messages down the spine, out the nerves to every cell in the body. And along the nerve, you have these little gaps. And these little gaps are called synapses. And in the synapses, we have chemicals called neurotransmitters, and they jump from one side of the gap to the other. And the reason we have these in our body is it speeds up the transmission. It speeds up the nerve impulse. And so these neurotransmitters make us function. And there's over 100 different types of neurotransmitters. They control appetite and mood and romance and mental function and sleep and memory, and they control pain. And so we talked last week about it, and the response that I got from you, the listeners, was pretty overwhelming because we talked about how the brain can control your emotions. Well, your brain is your emotions, and how the neurotransmitters can actually determine how you feel and how you function. And then somebody came to me and they said, they said privately, my son tried committing suicide. Young kid, 13 years old. And I was very concerned, and after listening to your show, I sort of got an insight into what was going on, and I said, tell me about it. And she said, first of all, he doesn't have a good diet. And second of all, he's got terrible gas. She goes, he just stinks. I mean, nonstop all day. And that has to do with the digestive system, obviously. And that means the body is not breaking down proteins into something called amino acids. So the undigested food passes from the stomach into the small intestine where it putrefies. And when it putrefies, it gives off gases. And so she said, I listened to your show and it made sense that his digestive problem is the reason why his brain isn't working, because he's thin, and she tries to feed him well. But again, teenagers are tough to feed. But she said, all of a sudden this light went on. She said, can you talk more about that? And my answer was yes, because I had a bunch of neurotransmitters I was going to cover last week, and I didn't cover all of them. In fact, I covered only a fraction of them. And we talked about adenosine, and adenosine is a neurotransmitter that helps you sleep. It gets into your body and helps you sleep. And if you're doing things like coffee, it blocks your body from absorbing adenosine, and so you don't get tired. It stimulates the nerves, and it also stimulates dopamine release. Now, dopamine is the neurotransmitter in your brain that gives you pleasure. So when you drink coffee, you're getting high and you're not getting tired, and so you get excited about it. 90% of Americans drink some type of caffeine every day. So we talked about dopamine, and we kind of stopped there, and I have a bunch more I want to talk about. Now, if this is the first time you're tuning in, I'm board certified in chiropractic, I'm board certified in orthopedics, I'm board certified in pain management, double board certified in nutrition, BS in nutrition, retired dietitian, award-winning author, and this show is heard coast to coast and around the world. So I want to thank you guys for doing that. I think we added 2 or 3 new stations today, as a matter of fact. So if this is the first time you're hearing the show, welcome. Glad you could join us. And so we're going to give you some insight into how the brain works and what you're doing to mess it up. Sometimes it's a chemical thing you're doing, and sometimes it's a physical thing you're doing. So I want to talk about serotonin. Serotonin is a neurotransmitter that gives you a feeling of well-being and makes you feel full after you eat. Women make about 7 times less serotonin in their brains than men. This is important. The female body has lower percentage of muscle mass, and therefore it can't store as much serotonin. So women produce less serotonin. So what does that mean? Well, serotonin is carbohydrates like sweets and white starches raise your serotonin level. So women crave sweets about 65.9% of the time. Men crave sweets about 34.8% of the time. So almost double women crave sweets because serotonin is stimulated by eating, carbohydrates. Now, if you don't have enough serotonin, this is where it becomes important. Comfort foods, you eat junk foods, your brain quickly gets flooded with serotonin and dopamine when you're eating breads, cookies, cakes, donuts, pastas, alcohol, meat, sugar, dairy, coffee, soda, artificial sweeteners. So you're putting these chemicals in your body, and it's stimulating the release of serotonin and dopamine, the chemicals that give you well-being and pleasure. So you see how you can easily sabotage your own mental and physical health. And here's what happens. It happens with me anyway. I don't eat a lot of breads, cookies, cakes, donuts, pastas, but if for some reason I do, like I'm Italian, and if I go to New York, I'll have a piece of Italian bread just because I love it so much. The next thing I want is more bread. Instantly. I can go for some more bread. Maybe I'll get some more bread. Maybe I'll have a bagel while I'm up here. And once you start, it's hard to stop. Now, it takes about 3 days to reboot your brain. So if you're a carbohydrate junkie, which you are, it takes about 3 days of you really buckling down and avoiding the carbohydrates for you to kind of reboot your brain. So don't give in. If you're going to get off your sugars, your breads, cookies, cakes, donuts, and pastas, you got to give it at least 3 days. Work with me on this, okay? I really want you to give this up. Now, if you're low in serotonin, it can contribute to things like compulsive, addictive behaviors due to dopamine dominance. You have to have a balance between dopamine, which gives you pleasure, and serotonin, which helps give you logic. You can make better decisions when the serotonin levels are high. If the serotonin levels are low, you're high on dopamine, and you do stupid things. Anybody ever do something stupid? Raise your hands. A lot of you have. I know you have. And a lot of that is because of the neurotransmitters in your brain. And if you have suboptimal levels of serotonin, what can cause that? Things like daily life stresses can reduce it. Now, what happens if you have digestive problems like acid reflux, heartburn, burping, gas, bloating? Oh, got to go to break. This is important. If you have those problems, I'm going to tell you how it affects your brain and why every case I've ever treated in 33 years of practice, that where there's a mental issue, there's always a digestive issue. Folks, I'm going to open up the phone lines. If you have any healthcare questions, 844-44-Dr. Joe, 844-44-DRJOE. My website, we've got tons of podcasts there, hundreds and hundreds of hours. You can read articles, send questions to me. If you want to send me questions you don't want to get on the air, drjoeesposito.com, or just Google Dr. Joe. Lines are open now for healthcare questions, 844-44-Dr. Joe. We'll be right back. Hey, folks, Dr. Joe here. Thanks for tuning in. Do appreciate your time today. We're talking about a real important topic. We're talking about neurotransmitters in the brain. Now, I know you may think, boy, that doesn't sound too exciting. It is, because the neurotransmitters are the chemicals that make you who you are. They're your personality. They're your love life. They're your anger levels. They're your sleep levels. Everything happens because these chemicals in the brain make it work. Now, before the break, I said if you have acid reflux, heartburn, burping, gas, bloating, raise your hands. How many people have that? Most of you. I know that because about 80% of the patients I have in my offices have that problem. Now, my doctors test these patients, about 80% of them, that's how we know, about 80% of patients have something wrong with their digestive system. And your stomach, your mouth's job is to take carbohydrates and break down these sugars. And your mouth has something called salivary amylase. Your stomach's job is to take proteins and break them into something called amino acids. Now, the amino acid tryptophan combines with vitamin B6 if you have a healthy colon. So tryptophan with B6 creates a chemical called 5-HTP, and 5-HTP becomes serotonin. And serotonin is the neurotransmitter on the hot seat right now. It's a neurotransmitter. It gives you well-being. It makes you focus. And so if you have digestive problems, you can't produce the right neurotransmitters because you're not giving your body the raw materials. So acid reflux, big issue. A lot of people have it. I had it for years until I finally figured out how to get it fixed. And I had my doctors at the time work on me, and they solved the problem for me. I figured it out, and I said, do this to my stomach and see if it works. And sure enough, it did, which was great. But your stomach can push up against your diaphragm and spasm. And there's a little hole in your diaphragm called the lower esophageal sphincter, and that's where food can come up into your esophagus. And that can lead to irritation, heartburn, chronic cough, sinus problems. The acid can go all the way up into your sinuses. And you need to manually pull the stomach down away from the diaphragm in most cases to make it work. And we know this because we test our patients all the time. And if I could never adjust another patient, again, we're chiropractors in my offices, we could never adjust another patient, we can build a very successful practice on nothing but digestive problems. So many times your problems are physical, not chemical. And you keep trying to treat them chemically. And if you're taking antacids or acid reflux drugs, and sometimes you have to take drugs. I'm not against drugs. But do understand they can, if you're taking the prescription ones especially, they can prevent you from absorbing calcium, magnesium, B12, and iron. And many times they'll have heavy metals in them, which can lead to things like brain problems, and it may even be linked to Alzheimer's. And if we have time today, I'm going to talk about what some neurologists are now saying about Alzheimer's and what you can do to prevent it, and if you do get it, what to do to hopefully do some repair work. Luckily, the brain can repair things, repair itself, and repair the body too. So if you have acid reflux, it can prevent you from getting amino acids into the brain, which produce the neurotransmitters. Tyrosine becomes dopamine. Dopamine is the neurotransmitter that gives you pleasure. Glutamine becomes Gaba and Naropa Nephron, which gives you energy and helps suppress things like pain. My team of doctors and I, we deal a lot with pain patients. In fact, literally all day, every day, we deal with pain patients. And I always try to tell them, we're going to give you the best chiropractic care that we possibly can give you, but you have to work with us. You have to do a little dietary work to give your body the raw materials to produce the neurotransmitters, in this case GABA, to help suppress your pain. So if you don't have enough serotonin levels, well, daily stress can do it. It can use up your serotonin levels. Researchers believe the average American's increasingly busy, multitasking, stressful life are directly responsible for two common problems, which is the suboptimal levels of serotonin in the United States. So if you're stressed out, you're probably using up your serotonin too. Most people don't get enough omega-3 fatty acids. Omega-3 fatty acids, if you don't have enough, it inhibits dopamine and serotonin production. So I take algae oil every day. Now, you can take fish oil. Not a big fan of fish oil because you run the risk of it being contaminated with mercury. I like the algae because I'm a vegan. I don't eat animal products, so I'll eat the algae. You can also do krill oil, which I feel is a better choice than fish oil. And then algae oil, of course, is the best choice, but it's the most expensive. If you don't get enough B12, that's a problem too. I'm a vegetarian, so I don't get B12 from my animal products. I do get it from some plants, but I'll take a B supplement. So my supplements is I take Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source every day. It's funny, I was just in a break room before I came on, and a DJ from another one of our sister stations was in the room. He goes, Dr. Joe, we never met. He says, when I moved back to Atlanta, I was living with my parents. He says, I opened up the cupboard, and there's your Super Greens and Essential Source I always hear you talking about. He says, so I started taking it. He goes, man, I feel good when I take that stuff. And when I ran out, I noticed the difference when I stopped taking it. So that's the minimum amount of nutrients you should take every day. That's what I take. I also take a B vitamin. We have Dr. Joe's B vitamins. Those are on my website, Dr. Joe's B Complex. And I take an adrenal supplement as well. Because as you get older, the adrenal glands get weak. And the adrenal glands produce adrenaline, which gives you energy. They produce anti-inflammatories, and they produce your sex hormones. And if you're under a lot of stress, you can burn out. The adrenal glands pump out a lot of chemicals, and they can actually burn out. So bags under your eyes, chronic fatigue, these are all signs that you might have adrenal fatigue. And if you're the average American, chances are you have adrenal fatigue. So those, I take the omega-3s, Dr. Joe's B Complex, Super Greens, and Essential Source every single day. And then in the winter, I take Dr. Joe's vitamin D because you need vitamin D. It's really important. Research in cancer now, bone growth. So many things keep coming back to vitamin D deficiency. So next time you get your blood work done, make sure you get your vitamin D levels checked. And if I have to do something important, I might even take some Dr. Joe's Nitric Oxide support because it opens up your blood vessels, increases circulation to your brain, your reproductive organs, keep it clean, your arms, your legs, your everything. And a lot of times as we get older, we don't produce enough nitric oxide. And so a nitric oxide supplement is something you might want to consider as well. And a lot of people have started taking it, men especially, and saying, wow, doc, it kind of makes me act like I'm young again. I said, good, keep taking it. It's good for you. So we're talking today about neurotransmitters and how the body works. As a chiropractor, my team of doctors, we're all concerned about making sure the nervous system is working the best it possibly can. So we're talking today about the big six, we call them, the big six neurotransmitters in the brain, and the ones that most people have problems with. Low levels of progesterone in women can lower serotonin. So if women are on birth control pills, it can lower their serotonin levels, and that could become an issue. If you don't have good thyroid function, it can lower serotonin levels. So there's a lot of things that control the production of the neurotransmitters. This is why I don't believe you can just treat somebody for a problem. If somebody comes in with neck pain or back pain or shoulder pain or headaches, they've been in a car accident. I've never seen a car accident ever where the car was damaged where the occupants weren't. Ever. So if the car was hurt, you were hurt 100% of the time. You may not feel the pain right away. That doesn't matter. Come see us, go see somebody, and get it checked. We don't want it getting worse. So if they come in with neck pain or back pain, I don't want to just treat your neck pain, your back pain. I want to get your whole body working. I want to help get you well and keep you well, not just treat your pain. Hey, folks, phone lines are open, 844-44-DR-JOE, 844-44-DRJOE. My website, if you want to order supplements, if you want to listen to my blog, my podcasts, drjoeesposito.com, or just Google Dr. Joe, number one Dr. Joe in the world. If you have questions, I'm more than happy to answer them for you. If you want to make an appointment, it's also 844-44-DR-JOE or drjoeesposito.com. Hey, folks, I got to go to break. A lot more to talk about brain function. Tell your friends about the show. I'm going to be right back. Tell your friends. Hey, everybody, thanks for joining us. I am so glad you're here. I am Dr. Joe Esposito, and we are talking about how the brain works. And this is really important because as a chiropractor, my team of doctors and I want to get you well and keep you well, and the brain is where all your neurological input comes and goes up to the brain, comes back out again. And the brain works because of chemicals, and the chemicals are called neurotransmitters. And right now we're talking about serotonin. We got a bunch of others we got to cover too. If you have a question, lines are open, 844-44-DR-JOE, 844-44-DRJOE. That's the number rings here in the studio. It also rings through to my offices if I'm not on the air. So if you ever need us, you can always call that number too. It's nice and easy, 844-44-DR-JOE. So we're talking about serotonin. If you don't have enough, it can cause some real serious problems. And studies have shown that St. John's wort, which is an herb, actually raises the level of serotonin, norepinephrine, which is another a neurotransmitter, and dopamine. But do not take St. John's wort if you're taking depression medications. It calls specific serotonin reuptake inhibitors. Don't mix the two. That's when you start having problems. But if you're going to do any supplement, I'm going to go off on a tangent here for supplements for a second, always get the best. It's always cheaper. My grandfather came over from Germany. I have this in my book. If you've read my new book, Prescription for Extreme Health, you know I have that quote in there from my grandfather. And he came over in 1922 from Germany during Hitler years. He was German in America, but they understood. Some of the people got smart and got out. And he did, which I'm glad he did, or else I wouldn't be here. And he said, always buy the best. It's always cheaper. And boy, is that ever true. And sometimes people take supplements, and it's funny. They'll take a supplement and go, I didn't see anything happen. And I'll read studies. And they'll say, well, there was a study on vitamin C, and it turns out it doesn't really help colds and flu, or it doesn't help collagen. And I'll look at it, and when I dig a little deeper, if they say it in the study, they didn't use real vitamin C. They used ascorbic acid, or they used cheap versions of glucosamine, or whatever it is. So getting the best is always cheaper. And, when it comes to supplements, it's so inexpensive relative to what you're getting, because your body needs chemicals to work. You need the raw materials to make your body function normally. And none of us, myself included, eat a perfect enough diet to get all the nutrients that you need. So I feel you need things like Dr. Joe's Super Greens, Dr. Joe's Essential Source. Like I said, I take an adrenal supplement, a B vitamin. Serotonin and norepinephrine are used by the body to inhibit pain signals from traveling up the spinal cord to the brain. So if you have low neurotransmitters, it can increase your pain level. And so that's why a lot of times when patients come in our offices, we not only adjust their spines, we adjust any bone in the body. There's 206 bones in the body. But we also work on their digestive system, and patients get amazing results. And that's why it's kind of cool. Even other doctors will send themselves or their patients in saying, we're kind of stumped on this one, see what you can do. And even other chiropractors send the patients over, which is kind of cool. So if you're somebody who likes to self-medicate with things like carbohydrates, you're looking to raise your serotonin and norepinephrine levels to decrease your pain. So you're in pain, you want to eat these comfort foods. Depression from pain is really, it's not only a psychological, but a physiological problem, and it needs to be addressed. So many times people are in pain, and they eat comfort foods, or they have a bad digestive system, and now they start feeling sick because they eat too much sugar, and then they start getting depressed. Oh, I'm not getting any better. So depression, I always felt, and I always will feel, that you can't just address it from a psychological pain. You have to, from a psychological standpoint, you need to take it from a physiological standpoint as well. It's pretty important and very insightful there if you think about that. Think about you or someone you know who has an emotional issue, and then think about your digestive system, and then think about your diet. I've never had anyone in all the years I've been in practice, 33 years, who had a good digestive system, a good diet, and still had depression. So sometimes, I've had people come in that are vegetarians, eating really good, still have depression. Then I find the digestive issue in there. All right, let's talk about another one. Gaba. Gaba is an inhibitory neurotransmitter to the central nervous system. Low levels of GABA are associated with fear. So it's kind of an interesting thing there too, along with pain. Elevated cortisol inhibits GABA. Now, when you're under stress, your body produces something called cortisol. It's produced in the adrenal glands. Remember adrenal glands? Talked about them a few minutes ago. The adrenal glands produce cortisol, and cortisol is your stress hormone. If you're under stress, it causes you to gain weight, because cortisol causes you to lay down fat, and it inhibits GABA, which can increase your pain levels. So if you're under stress, many times the pain is much more pronounced. Elevated cortisol levels inhibit the GABA. The herb valerian root effectively raises your GABA and is commonly used in Europe. So you might want to consider valerian as an option to increase your GABA levels. And sometimes with chronic pain patients, I'll tell them, hey, listen, take Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source to alkalize your system, and let's try some valerian root. Once again, I'm not against the drugs. If you got pain and you need drugs, I support that 100%. But what else can we do? And that's the thing when patients come in our offices, they always say all the time to our doctors, what else can I do, doc? How can I take control of my own health? And that's why we teach about nutrition. And we do recommend supplements in many cases. And we do recommend getting the digestive system worked on so that you now can control a lot of your health. You're the one who decides what goes in your mouth. And if you're putting good foods in and good quality supplements, that's great. If you're not, well, that's a problem too. So valerian can help with GABA. American skullcap contains GABA, and that's another supplement. The amino acid taurine enhances the effects of GABA. Alcohol, barbiturates are common GABA-increasing substances. So this is why when you're drunk, you don't feel pain as much. The GABA levels go up. Barbiturates can increase your GABA level. And so you don't feel pain and you become Superman. Well, guess what? It's going to wear off pretty quickly, isn't it? And when it does, you go, what did I just do? How stupid was I? So we got to keep the gut, and that comes from glutamine, and glutamine is one of the amino acids that you get from your digestive system. So from a chiropractic standpoint, we always check the nerve supply to an organ, whatever the organ is, liver, spleen, kidneys, gallbladder, prostate, ovaries, doesn't matter. We want to make sure the nerve supply to the organs are working. We want to try to reduce the pain levels as much as we can. If you have pinched nerves, that causes pain, and we want to fix that. And then we want to get the diet straightened out as well. And we came to serotonin. I want to back up a little bit. I forgot to say this. 95% of the serotonin in your body is not used in your brain. It's used in your digestive system. So if you don't have enough serotonin, and the stomach wants 95% of it, digestive system wants 95% of it, and your brain gets the other one, the brain is going to get short-circuited, or short-changed, I should say. And so this is why if you have digestive problems, I beg of you, please get them fixed as quickly as you can, because we want to try to get you well and keep you well as quickly as possible. Folks, got to go to a break. If you have a question, 844-44-Dr. Joe, my website, drjoeesposito.com, or just Google Dr. Joe, number one Dr. Joe in the world. Supplements are there. My books are there. If you have questions, you can send them to me through the website. Follow me on Facebook. Follow me on Instagram. We send out lots of good information there. Sign up for my free newsletter. That's on the website front page. We never give out your email address. We want to give you the information you need to naturally get well and stay well. Hey, tell your friends about the show. I'll be right back. Hey, folks, Dr. Joe here. Glad you could spend a little time with me today. Talking about neurotransmitters today and how they make you feel good, how they can make you feel bad, how lack of them can lead to depression. Pretty serious stuff, these neurotransmitters. And nobody seems to talk about them, but that's why we talk about them here. Let's go to the callers. Tim, how can we make your day better?
Hey, Dr. Joe. Big fan of the show and actually one-time patient a long time ago.
Come back. What's up, Tim?
Just a real quick question. Some of the neighboring states are starting to allow, marijuana as a medicinal sources. What's the chiropractic viewpoint on some of these more healthy ways of ingesting this weird plant that everybody's been stigmatized against? And how's that?
again, I can't speak for the whole profession, but I can speak for myself.
Right.
If it's okay, it'll work because it does work on the dopamine receptor sites in the brain, and it can cover up pain. And absolutely, if we have something that's going to work, I'm fine with that. My concern is that if you do anything, whether it's pot or whether it's alcohol or whether it's sugar, and you start to stimulate those dopamine receptor sites, you can become addicted. And I know they say pot isn't addicting, but from the neurotransmitter point of view, it does stimulate the dopamine receptor sites, and that concerns me. So in an emergency situation, if it's a cancer patient, if it's going to add quality of life toward the end of life, I'm okay with, as I am with any other drug. However, for recreational purposes, my concern is that it can affect the brain in a negative way because it makes you feel good, and then you don't produce your own dopamine. You need this external source. So that's my concerns.
Yeah, it's coming pretty fast, and I just wanted to know because I'm in the medical field, so I just kind of.
Oh, sure. I see no reason why it's not going to become legal. I don't think that's an issue. It's just a matter of time. But alcohol is legal too. And that doesn't mean it's something you should.
I think it's a much worse thing, but I don't understand what the drawbacks because of the lack of federal spending and the studying and.
Yeah, I mean it'll happen, and I have no reason to doubt. But my thought is, if you're going to make alcohol legal, well, why isn't pot legal? That doesn't mean I agree that alcohol should be legal either, though. So, I'm all for fairness, and it should be across the board. And then also you have to be careful because when I was younger, I remember when there was a big fear of paraquat, which was a pesticide they'd spray on the pot and people get sick. Now, I don't know if that was real or not, but you got to be careful. If things are not somewhat regulated, and that you can put some junk out there that can kill you. But so's our food supply like that too. So. All right, Tim, thanks so much for the call. Do appreciate it. Come back and see us. Thanks so much. All right, let's keep taking the callers. Toby, how can we make your day better?
Yeah, I've been battling, honestly, jock itch for a couple of years now, and I just can't seem to get rid of it.
Sure. A lot of times when you see jock itch, it's actually a yeast infection in your colon. So if you have jock itch, underarm itch, women have vaginal infections. Many times in your colon you have yeast, and it helps digest sugar, and you have good bacteria and bad bacteria. And if you do rounds of antibiotics, now you can do them medicinally, like when you have to have surgery or something, you need antibiotics, absolutely take them. But if you're eating a lot of commercial animal products, many times they give these animals antibiotics. In fact, about 70% of the antibiotic production in this country is not for human consumption, it's for animal consumption. So you're eating these low levels of antibiotics all the time. If you eat animal products, most people do 3 meals a day, you can start to slowly kill off the bacteria in your colon, but the antibiotics don't affect the yeast. So now the yeast can start to multiply, and the yeast can become overgrown in your colon. You get this yeast overgrowth, and they can burrow holes into your colon, especially if you're doing things like wheat that can irritate the bowels, and it can get into your blood system, and now we have what's called a systemic yeast infection. And so now the yeast wants to set up shop, and it sets up shop in warm, moist places like jocks, your jock itch, the vagina, the feet, the tongue, in the ear. Sometimes you get chronic ear itching. Many times that's a sign of yeast. So I want you to try this tomorrow morning, Toby. I want you to get a glass of clear water, okay? Put it next to your bed tonight when you go to bed. Tomorrow morning when you wake up, I just want you to get a big mouthful of spit and spit into the glass. And see if you start getting these streamers coming off it. Kind of looks like jellyfish tentacles. And if you can wait up to an hour. And if you start to see that, the chances are, and again, it's not definitive, but chances are you have a yeast infection. And then we'd probably want to get you on a yeast infection protocol, supplement-wise, to see if we can get the balance of the bacteria, or called the flora, in your colon right, to see if we can control this yeast. If you don't, if it's already in the body, it can just get worse and worse as time goes on. It very seldom goes away by itself. In fact, I can't think of it ever going away by itself. Itchy rectum is another one. I had somebody come in the other day with an itchy rectum, and sure enough, it was yeast infection. So see if that happens, and if it is, then you might want to give us a call. We'll see if we can get you on a yeast protocol.
Okay.
Thanks,
yeah,
Toby.
That's great.
Appreciate the call. Thanks so much. Yeah, folks, a lot of times you think I have this, I got it when I was at the gym. Well, maybe, but maybe it's much more than that. Folks, if you have a healthcare question, 844-44-DR-JOE, 844-44-DRJOE. That number rings through to my offices when I'm not on the air, and we'd love to be your doctors. We'd love to have the opportunity to work with you to try to get well and stay well. We have a team of doctors that we work with surgeons, medical doctors, holistic practitioners, women doctors. We work women health issues and women doctors too. Pain management doctors. We work with a team of doctors and we refer back and forth, which is really cool. Because like 20 years ago, chiropractors, medical doctors, every orthopedist didn't like neurosurgeons. Neurosurgeons didn't like orthopedic surgeons. There was this big battle, and it's really cool that I've seen happen in my life is that we've all kind of come together now. I have a lot of attorneys with car accidents send us patients, and they'll say, Joe, you're the captain of the ship. I want you to drive this case. What do they need? Do they need medical evaluations? Do they need MRIs? Do they need pain management? Do they need injections? Do they need surgery? And so they trust us with these cases so that then we can kind of steer them in the right direction to make sure the patient gets the best care available. And that's why we see so many car accidents, because I always say, if you've ever been in a car accident, if the car was damaged, you were damaged 100% of the time. I've never seen a car damaged where the occupants weren't. So the website is there. We have amazing podcasts. We've got well over 1,000 hours there. Listen to the podcast. Send me questions if you have them. You can order Super Greens, Essential Source, the vitamin D, the adrenals, the nitric oxide. All the supplements are on the website and my books. drjoeesposito.com, or just Google Dr. Joe, #1 Dr. Joe in the world. So you go right to my Health Plus Wellness Center website, and you can spend a little time there because it's a great source. Read the articles. It's under blog. You have Dr. Joe's articles. A lot of good articles. Short. I make them short because I understand people may have low serotonin, which can lead to attention deficit disorder. And so that's what we have to do. That's why we're talking about neurotransmitters today and how the body works. Folks, got to go to break. If you have a healthcare question, 844-44-DR-JOE, 844-44-DRJOE, my website, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, drjoeesposito.com, and just Google Dr. Joe. When we come back, we're going to talk about why you're so tired all the time. What neurotransmitters does that mean? How to balance that out. Certain neurotransmitters that can actually help you, can actually cause you to get fat. And then if we have time, we'll talk about how Alzheimer's may be linked to a digestive problem and a nutrition problem. Folks, 844-44-DR-JOE, my website, drjoeesposito.com. We'll be right back. Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. I am Dr. Joe Esposito, talking today about neurotransmitters because these are the chemicals that make your brain work. Sometimes you think you might know someone who doesn't have any neurotransmitters because you're wondering, how are they living? Their brain can't be working if they're acting like this. And many times they're right. The neurotransmitters have to be right and have to be balanced. And it's a very fine balancing act that your brain does with these neurotransmitters. I want to talk about norepinephrine now. It helps with attentiveness, emotions. It helps with dreaming, learning. At the spinal cord level, it acts to block the transmission of pain to the brain. Because, I mean, think about this. You don't feel a lot of things going on in your body. You don't feel your pants on. You don't feel your eyeglasses sitting behind your head. You don't feel your shirt rubbing against your neck all the time because these neurotransmitters block pain impulses. And many times if people have chronic pain, it's not only because they have a pinched nerve. Again, my team of doctors were chiropractors. We're very good at dealing with chronic pain patients or acute pain patients. But we also have to look at their diet because I want to try to make sure your body is not perceiving something that it doesn't need to. So if you're having a little bit of pain in your back, you may perceive it as a lot of pain in your back if the neurotransmitters aren't right. And norepinephrine, or noradrenaline, comes from glutamine. It's released as a hormone into the blood vessels, and it causes blood vessels to contract and heart rate to increase. The inner part of the brain, it's called the medulla of the adrenal glands. The medulla of the adrenal glands secrete the norepinephrine. So that's where you get the adrenaline from. You get that energy boost from. So you got to make sure you're taking care of those adrenal glands, folks, and most of you aren't. Low levels of norepinephrine increase your appetite for sweets. See how these sweets keep coming back into play? And so many times when you're a sweet junkie, it's because your body is trying to build or stimulate these neurotransmitters when what you need to do is put good food in your body so that your body has the raw materials to produce the neurotransmitters. You're trying to do a shortcut with these sweets, and it's not working long term. During challenging times, we often crave carb-rich foods because they help the body produce serotonin, dopamine, and norepinephrine that are exhausted when you're chronically stressed. So you're trying to just give it a little boost and give it a little push, and it's not a good idea because ultimately it's going to lead to problems. And once again, St. John's wort steps in. It helps with norepinephrine, serotonin, and dopamine. If you have a bad thyroid gland, it can numb the body's receptors for adrenaline and dopamine. So the thyroid gland, you're still producing it, you're just not utilizing it properly. If you have suboptimal levels of B12, we talked about that. That's why I take Dr. Joe's B-complex every day. And, once you start taking the B-complex, you start doing Dr. Joe's Super Greens, Dr. Joe's Essential Source, the energy just comes out of you, and it's so cool. So let's go back to the callers. I'm sorry, I got a ton of callers here. 844-44 Joe if you have a question. John, how can we make your day better?
Well, Dr. Joe, I heard you talk about one of your supplements for macular degeneration.
Yes, sir.
And I am suffering a little bit in that area.
Uh-huh.
And I'd like to have some more information on it.
Great. Well, I was diagnosed with macular degeneration several years ago. And one of the reasons I created Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source is I had to come up with a supplement that was just mega doses of antioxidants. Because the doctor told me you have macular degeneration, it's pretty bad, and it'll either stay the same or get worse, and chances are you might go blind. And it was what it was. And here I was, early, I guess, in my 50, like maybe my late 40s, actually. And I got a little scared. So I started taking Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source, and about 2 years later, I went back to the same doctor. I've had the same eye doctor for years. He took another picture of the back of my eyes, and he actually started to shake. And I thought, I have a brain tumor, my first thought. And I said, what's wrong? And he said, it's getting better. I said, what's getting better? He says, your macular degeneration. I said, but you told me it can't get better.
So you're taking the Super Greens and what else besides Super Greens?
Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source were the two supplements that were the ones that changed it. And now...
Okay, the Essential, that sounds good to me, Doctor. Thank you very much.
All right, John, you can get those on my website. Thanks so much. Yeah, you can get those on my website. You can also get them on Amazon. If you have an Amazon account, we have all our supplements there, too. But it really is cool because every year now I get my eyes checked, and every year I've gone to the same eye doctor. He got a new associate in last year, a woman doctor, and she looked at my pictures, and she thought she was looking at them backwards because it was getting better, and she thought she was looking at them the wrong way, like it should be getting worse. And I said, no, it's getting better. And she said, that's unheard of. She says, can I send your information into the, Macular Degeneration Association and let them know that we have a case study here that's working? And I said, absolutely. And I have no idea if I'd never contacted me, so I don't know what they ever did with that information. But it's helped me tremendously, and I don't want to go blind. I kind of like my eyes. And so those high levels of antioxidants were helping tremendously, and that's why I'm so, hell-bent on taking it every day. In fact, I have it sitting here in the studio with me right now. So pretty good stuff right there. And relatively inexpensive, and for what you're getting, it's just crazy. It's fruits and vegetables in a powder form, prebiotics, probiotics, digestive enzymes, Silmarian, which helps your liver detoxify and cleanse. It's really a great combination. I'm a big fan of supplements and herbs, and that's why I put those together. To be honest with you, I put them together for me, but now they're available to you too. And they're on the website or on Amazon. Let's go back to callers. And if you have a question, 844-44 Dr. Joe. Tom, how can we make your day better?
Yes, Dr. Joe. My wife and I are big fans of you.
Thank you.
I have allergies, and I had one summer it was really bad, and the next summer after that was like 4 or 5 years ago. Now I think it's coming back because I'm experiencing issues now, and I'm wondering if there's any sort of thing you can share that would help.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. First of all, the two foods you got to give up are wheat and dairy products. Those are the two you got to give up right away, and not a little, none. Wheat and dairy. Dairy's number 1, wheat's number 2 as far as food allergens. So just cut them out for 2 weeks, and let's see if I'm right. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, so what? But I'm not wrong. Second thing is you got to get your digestive system working. So if you got to break down your proteins into amino acids. So that's what we're talking about with neurotransmitters. So these big chunks of protein don't get absorbed into your blood, causing an allergic reaction. There's a supplement on my website called Dr. Joe's Enzyme Support, and I'd probably recommend that for you as well if you have digestive problems because it'll help break the proteins down more efficiently. Any acid reflux, heartburn, burping, gas, bloating?
No.
Okay, good. All right, so that solves that then. The enzyme support, the super greens, the essential source, and the adrenals, because the adrenals produce prostaglandins, which moderate inflammation. So that's where I would start, but the kicker that you need to do is give up the wheat and the dairy, and let's see what happens. Call me back in 2 weeks. Let me know how you did.
I will.
Thanks, Tom. Appreciate the call. All right, folks, got to go to break. If you have a healthcare question, like Tom just did, 844-44-Dr. Joe, 844-44-DRJOE. My website, if you want to order supplements, books, make an appointment, send me questions, listen to my podcast, drjoeesposito.com, or just Google Dr. Joe, #1 Dr. Joe in the world. Hey, tell your friends about the show. I'll be right back. Hey, tell your friends. Hey, folks, Dr. Joe Esposito here. Sorry about that. Me and Ahmad were rocking out the Billy Idol here. Going to go see him in concert in a few weeks. I'm excited about that. You never saw him, man. What a great concert. He turned his life around. Did a great job. He was a rocker, of course, back in the day, and drugs, alcohol, bad motorcycle accident, almost died, came back strong, and I was amazed. I mean, gosh, he was on stage in about 2 or 3 songs, and he rips his shirt off, and the guy's in his 50s, and I was like, he looks like a 19-year-old bodybuilder. It's just amazing. So, and his voice sounded great too. But anyway, just rocking out, me and Ahmad here, having some fun here. If you have a question, 844-44 Dr. Joe, talking today about neurotransmitters. Got a couple of people on hold. Going to get to those in a second. I do want to cover a little bit more on this here. What we've been talking about, the neurotransmitters are chemicals in your brain that make your brain work, and most of us don't take real good care of our brains, do we? I mean, think about this. Whoever put us here, it's for another show, put the brain and the spinal cord encased in bone. The hardest material that the human body can produce is bone. And it put your brain and spinal cord encased in bone to protect it. The rest of the body, arms are out here, legs are out there. Got some ribs maybe covering your lungs and your organs in there. But your brain and spinal cord control everything, and they're protected by bone. The problem is whenever you add some protection, you usually lose flexibility. And so this is why the spine is made up of 24 individual vertebrae, and they move. But if they move, they can come out of place. When they come out of place, they can pinch the nerves. And if they pinch a nerve, it hurts 10% of the time. 90% of the time, there is no pain. So you can have pinched nerves and not know it. And that's why my team of chiropractors and I work very diligently to get your body lined up the best we possibly can, not just because you have pain, but because we want to open up the nerves that control the organs, and we want to make sure the messages are getting back and forth from the brain to the body. And we want to make sure your diet is right and your digestive system is right so that you're able to produce neurotransmitters. And so if you have lower suboptimal levels, again, of B12, it's going to affect the production of the norepinephrine in this case we're talking about, but a lot of the other neurotransmitters. So you need to get your vitamins in there. And if you're not eating the ideal diet, which is nothing but fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds, you probably need to take supplements like Dr. Joe's Super Greens, Dr. Joe's Essential Source, Dr. Joe's B-Complex. Got it all for you. All the major ones that people need, we've got on the website, drjoeesposito.com. And those are the ones I take. And they're all plant-based. They're all vegan, too. Jamie, how can we make your day better?
Yes, sir, Dr. Joe. My name's Jamie. I'm a 25-year-old female, and I have polycystic ovarian syndrome.
Yes.
And I was wondering if you had any insights about that. I was diagnosed 2 years ago, and I'm kind of on the fence about taking any type of synthetic medication to treat it.
Sure. No, I have an opinion on everything. You know that, Jamie. If you ever listen to the show, I've got an opinion for everything. No, PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, it's tumors in your uterus. And number one, absolutely no caffeine, no stimulants. So that's coffee, tea. Yeah, that's the number one thing you have to give up today, now, because the caffeine, every time you do it, makes it worse. So here's my challenge to you, Jamie.
Okay. I do want to mention something, though. You were speaking about neurotransmitters.
Yes.
And you were talking about the spine.
Yes.
And I actually have an atlas subluxation.
Yes.
And so I was kind of having some epiphanies while you were talking about the relation of the spine and everything else. I do take an SNRI for anxiety.
Sure.
So would an atlas subluxation cause any type of problems like PCOS or anxiety?
The anxiety, absolutely,
like
yes, because the brain funnels down into the brain stem, and then it becomes the spinal cord. So the atlas, the top bone in your neck, the brain stem goes right through that little hole. It's called a foramen, and it goes right through there. And if the atlas moves out of place, it can put pressure on the brain stem, which can cause a lot of anxiety. Absolutely, positively, yes. The PCOS, no caffeine. Sorry to break the news to you. Also, speaking of subluxation is a bone out of place pinching a nerve. You want to check the nerves in the low back because the nerves in the low back control the uterus, the ovaries, the colon, the bladder. So you definitely want to get the low back nerves checked, again, from a chiropractic standpoint. No caffeine.
Okay.
And a lot of water. Water's going to help flush the body out. And the more raw food you eat, it has enzymes in it. And enzymes can actually help break up inflammation in the body. So if you took, let's say, Dr. Joe's Enzyme Support along with a good diet, take it between meals. When you have an empty stomach, the enzymes can be absorbed into the blood, and they're more effective of breaking up the inflammation.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate all your help.
Thanks, Jamie. I appreciate the call. Hey, where are we? Oh, we got a few minutes. We can take another call here. What the heck? Renetta, how can we make your day better?
Dr. Joe, hi.
Hi.
Love to listen to you. My question is there any effect of vinegar, apple cider vinegar, on empty stomach? Can it cause any damage?
It won't cause any damage. Your stomach is designed to handle acid, and the acid in the vinegar is mild compared to the pepsin, pepsinogen, hydrochloric acid you have in your stomach. So no, it wouldn't cause any damage. I do recommend.
Thank you.
Okay, that's it. Okay, thanks. You know me, I can't stop. Somebody asks a simple question, I gotta right. Ahmad's laughing in there. Have you ever heard me give a short answer, Ahmad, ever?
No.
No, all the years we've worked together, I don't give short answers. So, folks, if you have a healthcare question, 844-44-Dr. Sarah, I'm going to have to go to a break pretty soon. So, Sarah, keep hanging on, and I'll get to you there. 844-44-Dr. if you have a question. My website is drjoeesposito.com, or just Google Dr. Joe. We have our podcast there. We're going to be on Google and Apple Podcasts real soon. We just got what's called an RRS address. Okay, yeah, so, okay. Justin's telling he's smart. I'm not smart. So we're gonna put our Justin's our screener. Give him something to do. Give him a call at 844-44-Dr. Joe. Real nice guy. And so we're gonna have podcasts all over the world. Well, they're on the website now. We're gonna make it a lot more public. But listen to the podcasts, read the articles, send me questions if you have them. If you want to get the supplements, and I think you should, on the website, also on Amazon if you want to do that. Read the articles. But there's so much good information there. And the trend in radio is now going toward podcasts because people want to listen when they want to listen. Just like you have Netflix. You want to watch something when you want to watch it. And so you can listen anytime you want, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We also have videos of live lectures. I just did a live lecture the other day on pain management without drugs. Really good lecture, by the way. And that's on my website. We just uploaded a couple of days ago, too. So that's kind of cool. So I want to finish talking about Naropa Nephron, if I can sneak this in here. We talked about a thyroid gland. That can be a problem. If you have a thyroid problem, it can affect norepinephrine, B12. If you have seasonal affective disorder, you're in the house, you don't get out much, you're not getting sunlight. Sunlight's the key because it gives you vitamin D, but it also gives you energy. It charges you up. I mean, think what sunlight can do. It can grow plants. Think what it can do for you. So I do recommend you get out as quickly as you can if the sun's out, but as often as you can. Now, I've done many shows on sunburn. You don't want to get sunburned, so you want to get about 10 or 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes in sunlight, and then cover up. Wear some baggy clothes, get some scrubs if you want to go to Goodwill, get some scrubs if you want to. Baggy clothes will keep you cool in the summer, but prevent you from getting that sunburn as well. Wear a big hat, cover up your skin. It's very important. Folks, got to go to break. If you have a question, 844-44-Dr. Joe. When we come back, I'm going to talk about neuropeptide Y and how that affects your fat levels. And then if we have time, we'll talk about a little bit about Alzheimer's, too. I want to see if I can work that in. We're talking about brains today. 844-44-Dr. Joe. That number rings through to my office when I'm not there. Hey, follow me on Facebook and do this. Go to my website. Sign up for my free newsletter. A lot of good information there. drjoeesposito.com. Be right back. Hey, folks. Dr. Joe here. So glad you could spend a little time with me today talking about neurotransmitters and how the brain works. And it's really important stuff because when you're tired, when you're blue, when you're depressed, when you're happy, when you're emotional, when you're in love. These are all neurotransmitters, man. All we are is a sack of chemicals. And note that sack of chemicals has to be mixed just right to make the brain work. And the brain controls everything. So if you're not working right, I want you to consider perhaps the chemistry is off. Perhaps you have pinched nerves, like we talked about with the caller just before. And if you have pinched nerves, that can be an issue because it can block messages getting up to the brain and back down to the body. And then you want to look at the digestive system. Do you have acid reflux, heartburn, burping, gas, bloating? Fix it. Here's my thing. Stop suffering needlessly. So many of you suffer. And then you finally come into our offices and my doctors treat you. And you say the words that I hear literally, not every day, every hour. Why didn't I do this sooner? Why did I suffer for so long? And my answer is, I don't know. Take my advice. Try at least do the stuff that I can tell you can do at home. Change your diet. Take supplements. Dr. Joe's Super Greens, Dr. Joe's Essential Source, the B vitamins, the adrenal supplements if you need them, the enzymes, the probiotics. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. So what? I'm wrong. But I'm not wrong. And when you do it, you'll say, wow, this is what I've been missing? This is how much pleasure I could have been having in life? The answer is usually yes. Let's go back to some callers, then we'll go back to my notes on neuropeptide Y. Sarah, how can we make your day better?
Hi, Dr. Joe. I have a couple medical issues. I was just curious if you had any solutions. So I was diagnosed with psoriasis, depression with anxiety, degenerative disc disease, osteoarthritis, Pars defect, sleep apnea, and possibly REM sleep disorder.
Okay.
And I suffer from chronic pain every day of my life, and I am constantly exhausted between the not sleeping well at night and the pain waking me up. And I'm wondering if you have any possible solutions.
I got lots of solutions for you. I'm going to be your new best friend, Sarah.
Awesome.
Okay, a couple of things. The osteoarthritis is mechanical. What that means is bones are out of alignment, rubbing up against each other. And when bones rub up against each other, they wear out. That's the osteoarthritis. When that occurs, that causes an inflammatory reaction that goes systemic. It goes through the whole body. So now the inflammation can be affecting your digestive system, can affect your brain, which can lead to depression and sleep issues. If you're not digesting your food properly, we said that tryptophan becomes serotonin in your brain. Serotonin becomes melatonin, which helps you sleep. So you see how they all, everything is, it's always one becomes another, which leads to another. I don't know if there's an end to this. That's why my show goes on forever and ever and ever. We never run out of things to talk about. The psoriasis, every case I've ever seen is a liver problem. Now, many times there's a liver problem because it's a digestive problem, and the liver, the digestive system is supposed to break everything down to its little tiny core components and then send it to the liver to be dispersed. It's kind of like a clearinghouse.
So my doctor tried to put me on Humira, and I'm not okay with being on medications that will slowly destroy my immune system. So I declined, and I'm just kind of suffering without doing anything.
Okay. So I would fix your digestive system if you came to see us. I would certainly realign all the bones to stop that osteoarthritis from getting any worse, or at least slow it down the best we could. I would make sure you're getting foods that are easy to absorb, things like Dr. Joe's Super Greens, Dr. Joe's Essential Source, very quickly, easily absorb nutrition. I would get you off the big seven: alcohol, meat, sugar, dairy, coffee, soda, and artificial sweetener, what I call the 7 deadly sins of nutrition. Artificial sweetener, in your case, being the worst. So hopefully you're not doing any of that.
No, I mean, I drink, coffee every morning and Mountain Dew.
Well, there you go. Okay.
Style.
Yes. Okay, well,
but I've had this problem before I even started, caffeine like that.
Okay, yeah, because certain drinks, certain like beverages, sodas, some of them have brominated vegetable oil in it. Brominated vegetable oil will block up your thyroid gland, preventing you from properly absorbing iodine. Now, the thyroid gland, we've talked about, almost every neurotransmitter is affected by the thyroid gland. So brominated vegetable oil, fluorine, and chlorine, I would stay away from if I were you, to get that thyroid working properly. So there's many things you can do. Go ahead.
What kind of supplements would you recommend?
To start, I would say, how old are you?
I'm 25.
Oh, gosh, Sarah, you're just a baby. I have socks older than you, and that's not a lie. So
I'm also prior service, so I mean.
Okay, so there's that, and thank you for your service. We do appreciate that.
Thank you. So that kind of messed my back up
that
quite a bit.
That beats you up a lot, yeah. We see a lot of military folks in our offices, and the firemen, military folks, they just pour in going, oh, my God, we beat ourselves up. I would start with Dr. Joe's Super Greens, Dr. Joe's Essential Source, and I would probably do the B complex, and if you could afford it, the enzyme support as well, because you got to get your body healed. And at 25 years old, you should not be, looking at the future that's not going to get better. You should be looking at a future that's just rocking. And
I feel like I'm in my 80s, truly.
Yeah, exactly. And we don't want that. We want you to feel like you're 15, not 80. So do that. And if you want to come see us, we'd love to have you as a patient and see if we can get everything lined up physically, work on the digestive system, and let's see if we can get this thing straightened out.
Where are y'all located?
We have offices in Marietta, Duluth, and Stockbridge.
Wow, cool. Stockbridge. What's it called?
It's just Dr. Joe's Health Plus Wellness Center. Okay, and if you're listening around the country, around the world, folks, we're in Georgia. Our main offices are in Georgia. So, but if you just go to the website, drjoeesposito.com, or just Google Dr. Joe or 844-44 Dr. Joe, we can get you set up and hopefully get you fixed up.
That'd be awesome. Thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure, Sarah. Thanks so much for calling. That's why I love doing what I do, folks. It's kind of fun when people actually get well and stay well, and we save folks like that. Phil, how can we make your day better?
Hey, Dr. Joe, how you doing tonight?
I'm so happy you called, Phil.
Hey, so I back in October, I know this is going to sound strange, but my kid jumped on my head and landed sideways, and he's 4 years old, and that caused 2 ruptured discs lots of pinched nerves and everything, and 24 hours a day pain.
Oh, sure.
And so, yeah, back in January, I had a neck fusion surgery.
Right.
And so I'm about a month and a half out from it, and I feel absolutely great.
Good.
The problem is I packed on an extra 45, almost 50 pounds due to all the steroids that they put in me.
Absolutely, yes. Uh-huh.
So, and I'm kind of open to changing my diet because I was, and I should say I still am because I will be back there. I was a very avid CrossFit athlete, and, you know, I go. And so I've been to the top of the mountain, so to speak, and I got knocked all the way down. I'm not at the bottom anymore. I'm coming to the other side. But I'm trying to do a low-carb diet right now. But listening to your show while I'm driving right now, I said, you know what, let me call and let me see if there might be an alternative to that. Because I know it's not the best thing in the world to do. Because when I get in shape, I'm going to go back to counting my macronutrients and really just really tracking that.
Perfect.
I really have good results with that.
Good.
But until then, what do I do?
Okay, you got to cut out and again, if you're going to do low-carb diet, that's okay. If you're going to do the low-carb, high-fat, you know, like the paleo diet, or you can go the other way around and cut out all your oils, not fats. You can do an avocado here and there, but I would cut out the nuts, the peanut butters, any added oils, coconut oil, olive oil, vegetable oils. That's how you got to do one or the other. You can't do a hybrid of them because if you're eating fats and carbohydrates get used as energy. The fats get stored as fat, and it takes 3 times as much energy to digest a gram of fat than it does carbohydrate. So people say, well, I did a low-fat diet, it didn't work. I did a high-fat diet, it didn't work. You got to do it all or nothing. So I would cut out all the added oils, all the added oils, a lot of vegetables, Dr. Joe's Super Greens, Dr. Joe's Essential Source, because I have trouble with my weight too. I mean, in the past, 5-6 years, I've probably lost about 15 or 20 pounds because I got a little lax, and now I'm about 3 pounds off from where I was in high school. So you just got to eat a lot of vegetables. That's going to be the key. Super Greens Essential Source help curb your appetite and fix your digestive system. If you're not digesting your food, that can be a big issue too.
And it is. I can tell. There's a real physical difference. I mean, compared to 2 years ago when I was really, really avidly in shape and just going all the time, worried about what I was eating every day. Compared to the way I feel now, it's unbelievable. And what you're saying is absolutely gospel. You have to be in tune with your body. You got to listen to it.
Great.
You got to put the right stuff in it, and you got to exercise too.
Got to keep it in motion.
Paradigm in there.
Absolutely, Phil. Got to go to a break. Thanks so much for the call. Folks, the number 844-44-Dr. Joe, my website if you want to order Super Greens Essential Source, the other supplements, my books. If you have questions, listen to my podcast, drjoeesposito.com, or just Google Dr. Joe. Also available on Amazon. If you have an Amazon account, you can order it there. Hey, don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back. Folks, thanks for being here. Dr. Joe here. Somebody called in and wanted to come on the air. He says, has psoriasis but no digestive problems. Well, you don't have to have digestive problems. It could, and I always find a liver issue. Now, again, I'm not a dermatologist, but this is what I found in 33 years of practice. So even if you don't have the gas, bloating, acid reflux, you might have a bad diet. Might be a lot of alcohol, meat, sugar, dairy, coffee, soda, artificial sweetener, putting a strain on the liver. And now the liver's job is to break things down, break down toxins, waste products, and then pass them out. And the way we pass things out in a healthy body is the urine, the feces, the skin, the breath, and with women, their menstrual cycle. Well, if those routes of detoxification are not working properly, or if they're overwhelmed, the toxins have to come out another way. And the quickest, easiest way to come out is through your skin. And so that can be an issue. And many times I find psoriasis patients, when we get them off wheat especially, and dairy products, a lot of times they see amazing results in just several days, maybe a week or two, and they're just blown away. And it's like, why didn't I do this sooner? And that's the biggest question I get in my offices. All my doctors get the same question. Why didn't somebody tell me that my neck pain, my back pain, my shoulder pain, my headaches, my numbness, my tingling was caused by a pinched nerve and we had to put it back in place? Not always. There are times I have to refer you out to my friends who are neurosurgeons and vascular surgeons. And many times they refer their patients to us all day. We get referrals all day, every day from all sorts of doctors, and we refer, when appropriately, to other doctors as well. Because our goal in our offices is to help you get well and stay well. And we want to get the nervous system working, the digestive system working, and your diet straightened out. You can do this. It's not hard. And if that doesn't work, The natural approach, the non-aggressive approach doesn't work. We can always get a little more aggressive, and I have teams of doctors that I trust we can send you to. All right, got to cover this before we wrap it up. Neuropeptide Y. It's probably the most important food intake stimulating chemical known. When you're under chronic long-term stress, the body's sympathetic nervous system reduces neuropeptide Y, makes you hungry. So when you're under stress, you get hungry. So chronic stress triggers your appetites, especially for sweets, and that causes fat to accumulate. Fat becomes a living, breathing organ. We used to think it was just a blob, and it's not. And what happens is fat starts producing estrogen. Estrogen affects your moods. Estrogen causes you to lay down fat, which causes you to produce estrogen, which causes you to lay down fat. So the question is, does emotional stress make you gain weight or lose weight? And the answer is yes. It kind of both does. They both do. High cortisol levels released due to acute stress actually shuts off your appetite. However, chronic stress, that's for acute stress. Chronic stress we live with every day in our fast-paced society can trigger weight gain, especially around the belly. So you're under stress. Right now, somebody walks in the studio and, I don't know, has a gun. I'm not going to be hungry. Hunger's going to be the last thing on my mind. But if I'm under chronic stress, which we are, we sit in traffic, we deal with emotional issues, relationship issues, family issues, business issues, money issues. Those are the things that can cause us to release the neuropeptide Y and actually cause us to gain weight. And now, really since 1980s, the refined foods that's available are high in calories, low in nutrition. They keep us craving more foods, but they really don't make us feel full. You know, I just had dinner. I can go for dessert. I just had dessert. You know what? Let's go out for a cup of coffee after this. Maybe I'll get a piece of cake while I'm there. You know, I'm going to grab a bag of chips on the way out of here. So if you're going to thrive in this food abundant society, you have to use a different mindset and different tools. And those tools are eating foods that are super high concentrations of nutrients. Those would be fruits, vegetables, nuts and seeds. If you might want to cut those back if you're trying to lose some weight because they're high in fats. Now again, fats are good. You just don't want to eat handfuls and handfuls of them. That's where the problem comes in. The bowel should be moving 2 to 3 times a day. A day! Not a week, not a month. One of my coworkers told me the other day, I haven't pooped in 3 weeks. I said, that's nice. Do you think maybe there's something wrong? She said, yeah. So we worked on her stomach. We adjusted her stomach, adjusted her ileocecal valve. And I said, don't be surprised if you need to stop on the way home. The ileocecal valve's a valve in your colon, and sometimes it gets stuck closed, and food can't pass through. And I've worked on her before as a patient, so I know that that's a valve issue. Check the nerve supply. If you've got a pinched nerve in the low back, somebody called about polycystic ovarian syndrome. The nerve in the low back controls the uterus, the prostate, the sex organs, the colon, the bladder. Think about the nervous system, and is that the cause of the problem? Or is it part of the problem? Maybe it may not be. Do I have a neurotransmitter issue? Am I not digesting my foods? Am I not giving the body the raw materials to produce the neurotransmitters? Let's address that as well. At least, if nothing else, at least take Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source. Most of you would probably benefit from the Adrenal Support and the B complex as well that we have. If you're eating a lot of cooked foods, if you're getting older, you might want to consider a digestive enzyme supplement that we have. I love taking Dr. Joe's Nitric Oxide Support. And let me tell you, it opens up blood supply to every part of your body. And it says take 4. You know, I recommend 4 for most people, but I find I only need to take 1. And man, I'm just hopping and bopping and buzzing. My brain is working because the nitric oxide opens up the blood vessels. Now, be careful with the nitric oxide if you're on blood pressure medication because it could drop your blood pressure too much. So it opens up the blood vessels and increases circulation. And if you're taking blood pressure medication, if you start getting dizzy, if you start getting weak, you might want to consider cutting back one or the other, either the nitric oxide supplement or the blood pressure meds. Now, again, I'm not your medical doctor. I'm not telling you what to take and what not to take. Now, also, I want you to go to my website. I want you to sign up for my newsletter. It's right on the homepage, or you can make an appointment. It's 3 things right as you go to my homepage. Make an appointment, sign up for the newsletter, and order supplements. Sign up for the newsletter, folks, because we send out a lot of good information there. It's no charge, and it's more information to help you get well and stay well. Also, if you like my podcast, they're on my website too, drjoeesposito.com. We just did get an RSS feed, so we're going to be on Google and Apple and everything in the next couple of weeks. So, folks, once again, if I don't say it enough, thank you so much for listening. I do appreciate that. If you want to make an appointment, if you have questions, drjoeesposito.com or 844-44-Dr. Joe. Do me a favor. Tell your friends about the show. We'll catch you next time.